He picked the wrong family, and not scared of a conflict, and we're not scared. We're not running. We're coming at him.
But it just tells the story of it's the evil and the ugliness of people's hearts these days is everywhere.
Well, hey guys, welcome to the think tank. I literally walked in the door like 2 minutes ago. I miscalculated the length of my appointment. So I think we're going to talk about what they're finding in Rex's yard. It's said that there's been possibly bone fragments. There's just a lot to look at, as always, when it comes to Rex. Well, hello, Perry. Hi, James. How are you guys doing? Yeah, I literally just walked in the door. Hello, Dandy. I left my vitamin water in the car, ran in with a box of fruit, dropped it on the counter, ran over here and pushed go. So I'll get settled here and I'll join you guys. So they are saying that there's a possibility that today might be their last day of looking around that place. Do you think that there's a possibility that that house will not be turned back over to the family? Do you think that they might keep it? I'm going to show you guys this to start. Now, this is the one that intrigued me, and I haven't checked to see what's happening yet as far as an update, but I'll do that as soon as we get moving here. So it says, Rick Heurmanns' yard throws up its gruesome secrets. Mystery bone-like fragments are dug up at Gilgo Beach, Cheerio suspect's creepy Long Island home. Rex Heurmanns' house on Long Island has been the scene of an intense search since his July 14th arrest on suspicion of unaliving 3 women. The house where the married father of 2 lived was found to have a thickly wall concrete basement where some say he may have unalived his victims. On Sunday and Monday, the yard was excavated and the investigators were spotted looking at several mysterious objects. Forensic cops have dug up mysterious objects in the backyard of Gilgo Beach, Cheerio Rex Heurmanns' home. Haunting images show the officers crowded over a hole in the ground as they survey what appeared to be small fragments on a board in the soil. Some experts speculated they could be human remains, while others warned they could be from an animal or something entirely different. Jasmine. So, investigators have been carting out boxes of items from the house for the past week as they rigorously hunt for any evidence connected to the infamous deaths. They have discovered a huge gun cache and are probing the idea that some of the victims could have been attacked in that house. Heurmann, 59, was arrested July 14th on suspicion of unaliving 3 sex workers whose bodies were found on Gilgo Beach. So let's check this out. Now, there's no volume. It wasn't on the first time I looked it over either, so. But what the hell are those things? By the looks of it, it was underneath that one shed, whatever they're finding. And I mean, this guy's lived there most of his life. It was his parents' home. So how long have family pets and the like been put there? Creepy, eh? Brutal. And they all marched away. What are they finding? When we're done here, I'll look for see if there's any more recent updates. Sounds like there's a possibility of a press conference later today. I'll have to look for that as well. They left it kind of hanging. So would they need a coroner there if they're finding parts? Or do they just take it to the coroner? Creepy. There's a closer look. I don't imagine they have to go too far. And if there was a cadaver dog there, I'd like to know where it was hitting. Looking at a tray of objects which experts say could be human remains. The forensic cop could be seen surveying the items that had been laid out on a whiteboard. One stood close with a big, large sack for the items to be hauled away in after they were photographed. A doctor and a bone expert analyzed the photos for Daily Mail and were split over the nature of the objects, but said human remains cannot be ruled out. Really, from a distance, they definitely could be human or animal, but it's too far away to know for sure, said one doctor. So it looks like they're possibly just looking from pictures. So another expert, actually, a forensic anthropologist. From my experience, they look too rectangular to be human. I wouldn't recognize any of those objects immediately as human remains. But the dark stain on them suggests that we are looking at organic material, and the context in which they were found means that you cannot rule out human remains. Wow. Let's check this out, guys. Not too disturbing, right? Okay. Again, I do believe this is where that one shed was. Investigators have spent significant amount of time looking inside Heurmanns' basement, the door to which is seen open by his plants. Has that door got a lock on it? It must. What the hell, buddy? Unreal. I agree, James. Every floorboard up, search wall cavities, dig the entire garden. Way to go, you'd think yet. Or I'd think. Yeah, I would think so too. Because, yeah, I agree. Get ripping those walls down. And it could be anything. Mexi and I were looking at them earlier, and you can pretty much look at them and make those blobs into whatever of material, like that's into whatever shape you want to see. I've got them down in my notes as starting as 15, and the only reason I did that is due to that's when like a lot of hormone changes start. So I'm trying to look at when I'm looking at different cases that he possibly could have been around for. I'm starting pretty damn young. And on top of that, I mean, what about that baby? Was that his handiwork? And that's a very good question, Dandy. When did he start? Yeah, good question. Hate to think he buried people in his yard. Wonder how many childhood friends disappeared along the way. So about the yard, like, I mean, let's think of Gacy and how many he kept around. I mean, they're everywhere. People, there was remains everywhere. And I think the double life is actually a really good thought. Because I don't know if this is what we watched or not.
When I first started Eve, I was a minor, and I was really tired.
Is this the same one? I can't tell. Same idea though, right? So this was yesterday. Melissa Bartholomew, 24, was discovered by Suffolk County Police December 11th, 2010. Megan Waterman, 22, was from Maine. Maureen Brainard Barnes was 25 years old when she went missing. Amberlynn Costello was 27 when she disappeared. Wow. They seem to have taken that Jeep thing, too, out of the driveway. Unreal. Keep digging, boys. Lots to do yet. Yeah. What has he been up to? That totally makes sense. Yes, exactly, James. Adolescent Cheerios go after the animals first, usually. So, I mean, again, are they going to find a backyard full of cats and dogs? I think there is a statistical age. 20s, 30s, yeah. I'm kind of wondering, though, when he decided to switch channels and start, like, whether it's animals that we can find, whether it's going to be easy targets at first, if not through the whole damn thing. Kids, adolescent runaways. Oh, is that under the Long Island? I'll check it out. Clicking, clicking, clicking. Giglow Beach, Suffolk County ends search of suspect Heurmanns' house. So that means that I hope that means that they have started outside. That's what she has to say.
Is the last day of the
to the Gilgo Beach serial killer investigation. The Suffolk County District Attorney just wrapping up a news conference.
Long Island reporter Shantae Lands live in Massapequa Park with the very latest. Shantae.
Well, David and Charlene, that press conference just wrapped up. Suffolk County District Attorney Ray Tierney confirming that today is the last day of the search of accused Gilgo Beach serial.
So we did watch as much of the actual press conference as we could. It is in the in the playlist.
Serial killer Rex Heurmann. Now, we've been out here almost every day. In fact, every day. Today is day 13. It is ending today. I want to get you straight to some video of what investigators have been doing throughout that time. We have learned a number of things from Ray Tierney today. He said ground technology that found disturbances in the ground. It's not sure if there's anything criminal with that. Now, items pulled from the home today, he said, but he wouldn't specify what. He says in total 279 guns were recovered. Those guns are being categorized, not being returned to the Heurmann family right now, and the family, as we're told, is not here but will be allowed back inside afterwards. We asked if the family knew anything. He said the same thing that he said before. No.
There's no way in God's green earth you would catch me going back to that house. Like, what the hell? Put it in both? That's awesome. Thanks, Dandy. Yeah, no way would I be going into that house. Like, what? No.
There was no indication that they were involved. He says the family, when I say family, I'm talking about the wife, son, and daughter were out of the state when these alleged actual...
Wonder where Brother Craig was.
Murders happened when these women disappeared. Now, he elaborated on the investigation being fruitful, what he meant by that, because if you recall yesterday, Commissioner Rodney Harrison, the police commissioner, said that it's fruitful. He was saying because there's a lot of evidence that was gathered and it's now being sifted through. Now, he said they're looking for tangible amount of evidence, trace evidence to be exact, like DNA. He says the scientific testing and processing will be done in a lab. He did not specify how long that will take, but one thing is for sure, this is what you need to know. The search is over. Nothing of note was found specifically in the backyard. The house was...
So nothing significant of note. So does that mean that that was not bone fragments?
Cluttered, and there is lots and lots to be recovered.
We have reached an end to the search of the Gilgo house. We're going to be pulling out shortly. I would say that we have obtained a massive amount of material, all of which has to be cataloged and analyzed, and it's going to take quite some time.
It's not going to be a gruesome tourist attraction. We won't tolerate that. We're going to be putting up signs that people won't be able to stop there and take pictures or anything else. We're hoping that by the end of the week, they will be done with their investigation and we can get the neighborhood back to normal.
And that was Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman. What he was talking about was the neighbors who live around Rex Heurmann's home and in the siding blocks, pretty much saying that they're tired of the media, the investigators, and quite frankly, strangers coming to their neighborhoods. So police are expected to move out, and they are...
I think when something like this happens, you kind of have to suck it up and let these guys do their jobs. Like, don't complain. Jesus Lord.
Going to find a way to continue to push residents who don't belong here away from this neighborhood.
Unreal. Unreal. I can see
At
not
noon,
wanting
the school bus
gawkers,
monitor charged in the
but-
death of a 6-year-old in a wheelchair has now been released from custody. For Hiya, Will Williams.
Whoa. That's another story. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking too. I wonder if they're animal bones. Okay, yeah, I'm not surprised, no bodies, but I will be shocked if no trophies or mementos. Yeah, well said. Oh, right, James? Peeping over that hedge if I was a neighbor. Just trim that hedge there. Just cleaning up the property. What the hell are you doing over there? I think so too. I think it'll end up getting bulldozed too. I hope that they've gone through those walls as well as they have to, because yay, we've seen them miss stuff before. I wondered that too, Dandy. If he gave his wife any jewelry from the victims. I wondered the same damn thing, because we've heard of that happening before. Yeah, wow, this dude. Officials said nothing of note was taken from the suspect's backyard as far as remains, but analysts will now sift through a massive amount of material, all of which has to be cataloged and analyzed. It's going to take some time. Heurmann's house and vault were very cluttered with a lot of boxes. Officials say 297 guns were recovered from that vault that was large enough for people to enter. So maybe when they are talking, it's my belief anyways, when they're talking about that soundproof room, that it was this gun room possibly. Neighbors of Heurmann have had enough of the large police presence and crowds of people in their once quiet Massapequa Park community. Suck it up, people. It'll be over and done with. Get it. Deal with it. Something bad happened there. This is not going to turn into a show, a sideshow. Anyone that thinks they're going to come down and drive down the street and stop and take photos is going to be issued a summons for stopping in traffic. Oh, good Lord. Tuesday marked the 12th day of this invasive search, which started in Heurmann's home and spanned to the backyard with a large excavator. So he was charged a little over a week ago in Manhattan and charged with the deaths of Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, Amberlynn Costello. DNA evidence has tied him to these deaths. And of course he says, "No, I didn't do it. Wasn't me." Officials say that the main suspect in the death of Maureen Brainerd Barnes as well, whose remains were also found along a short stretch of Giglow Beach in 2010. So they're saying that they cannot confirm at this time if somebody was unalived in that house. So he also said there's been items that we have taken into our possession that makes it fruitful. Over the weekend, police dismantled a wooden deck at the house. On Monday morning, Newscopter 7 video shows Heurmann's backyard completely turned over. Oh, no. So that is, check them out on ABC. That's a 48-minute watch, so we won't sit through that. The task force we've put together still has their sleeves rolled up. We are not at a place where, in this investigation, is called finished. I've been an investigator for a long period of time now. These cases do not get solved easily. There are a lot of pieces of the puzzle that need to get put together. Officials say that Gilgo Beach victims disappeared when Heurmanns' family was out of town, suggesting he could have lured the women. Investigators have found tape and burlap bags at these crime scenes. And they are looking into what was going on in Atlantic City as well. We know that his wife has filed for divorce and she's gone. She's somewhere else. After Heurmann was arrested, members of the jail's human trafficking unit were then cleared to show his photo to current inmates to see if any of them had contact with him. They are also reaching out to the women victims who are no longer in custody. Let's see here.
The new developments continuing tonight in the Gilgo Beach serial killing case, but we're also going to dive deeper into how this case on Long Island unfolded so quickly in the last year and a half after something of a big stagnation for a decade before that. Tonight, an interview with former NYPD chief and now Suffolk County Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison, who took office and immediately made things happen last year. Here's Long Island reporter Shantae Lands.
As investigators search for evidence against accused serial killer Rex Heurmann, they zero in on this green Chevy Avalanche in South Carolina.
The Chevy Avalanche is something that got this investigation going in the right direction.
I sat down with Suffolk County Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison, who says Heurmann, an architect, husband, and father of two, gave the green Avalanche to his brother, who lives in South Carolina, around 2015. Harrison says Heurmann owned the vehicle at the time of the murders of 3 women whose bodies were dumped along Long Island's Gilgo Beach. What are you looking for in the car?
Anything, anything from hair to a trophy, souvenir, jewelry, anything that can help us connect these victims to that vehicle.
Investigators towed Heurmann's current black Chevy Avalanche from his Massapequa Park home on Friday. Hundreds of guns were pulled from his house. Commissioner Harrison says tracking the 59-year-old's Google searches revealed a disturbing revelation.
Searching little boys and other sex workers, seeing that showed us that he's a troubled human being.
Suffolk County Sheriff Errol Toulon spoke with Rex Heurmann inside the Suffolk County Correctional Facility.
I have spoken to him once. He's very calm. All three times he's been laying down on his bunk. Very nondescript, showing no emotion.
Sheriff Toulon says his team is...
Can you imagine how badly you'd want to, not be friendly with that man?
Now talking with 2 female sex workers previously jailed in Suffolk County who interacted with Heurmann as a potential client around 2017. He says both women declined to give Heurmann service. Rex Heurmann remains at the Suffolk County Correctional Facility. He pleaded not guilty to multiple counts of murder, and he's currently on suicide watch.
Ah, what a shame. Poor Rex. Wonder how long this is.
Fears of a serial killer on the South Shore of Long Island began in 2010 with the discovery of a woman's body along Ocean Parkway. Over time, more bodies were found in the same general area. Suffolk County Police recently used new DNA technology to try and catch the killer. Eyewitness News reporter Stacey Sager continues our coverage. She's live in Riverhead. Stacey.
Well, Lauren, let's remember that Suffolk County Police had a lot of help on this one, the kind of help that only the feds can provide. Analytical help with volumes and volumes of phone records. And here we are today, the suspect Rex Heurmann on the docket here in Riverhead. His wife, his defense attorney already here in court. This is a grand jury investigation. We expect an indictment, at least for part of this case.
Already today, a large presence of law enforcement outside the courthouse here in Riverhead, where a suspect in the Gilgo Beach murders is set to appear before a judge later this afternoon. It's a cold case spanning 13 years now, plagued by gaps in time, arrests of the former police chief and district attorney here in Suffolk County for unrelated corruption. But in recent years, at least 2 police commissioners in Suffolk County trying harder and harder to move the needle.
We have decided now to leverage social media.
There's some great leads that are putting us in a great place to solve this case.
As of today, it is a case that appears to be solved at least partially. Authorities zeroing in on their suspect here in Massapequa Park, a well-known architect, Rex Heurmann, who they believe is responsible for the killings of these women, known through DNA as the Gilgo Four. They are 25-year-old Maureen Brainard Barnes of Norwich, Connecticut, 24-year-old Melissa Barthelemy of the Bronx, 22-year-old Megan Waterman of Scarborough, Maine, and 27-year-old Lynn Costello of West Babylon. All of them located within a quarter of a mile of one another near Gilgo Beach back in December of 2010. But the remains of 6 more victims were found the following year, and the remains of Shannon Gilbert, who is no longer believed to be part of the Gilgo pattern. Also important to note, not all the victims in these cases were women. Remains of a toddler and a male included in the 10 that were found.
So it really makes you wonder how many were active throughout this time period. It almost seems to me like I can almost see 3 different possible suspects for different parts of these cases. To me, it seems like there's more than one person behaving as Lisk.
And investigators have long believed that there could be more than one suspect in these killings. So the arrest for just 4 of these cases doesn't come as a total shock to those who have been investigating this case for more than a decade. 8 victims in Suffolk County, 2 in Nassau County, plus Shannon Gilbert deemed to be unrelated to this pattern.
Oh? What just happened?
Fears of a serial killer on the South Shore of Long Island began in 2010.
We'll just stop that. I don't know what the hell happened there. So, we've gone through this. This house, eh? Okay, let's do this. Friends.
Creating radar that can detect anomalies underground to determine where they should dig.
We're just doing a total investigation around the house to see if there's anything back there.
New developments tonight in the New York serial killer case. This evening, police on the scene of that home outside New York City, and what they have now found in the suspect's home, a vault, and what was inside. Here's ABC senior investigative reporter Aaron Katursky now.
Tonight, the new images, investigators bringing heavy machinery onto this Long Island property as they work to determine whether Rex Heurmann killed any of his alleged victims at home. An excavator digging through his backyard, forensic technicians in white suits sifting through dirt, taking pictures, carting away evidence.
So the question is can we confirm that someone was killed inside the house? We can't confirm that at this time.
Authorities also deploying ground-penetrating radar that can detect anomalies underground to determine where they should dig.
We're just doing a total investigation around the house to see if there's anything back there that we need to take a closer look at.
Inside the home Heurmann shared with his wife and children, police discovered what they described as a walk-in vault with a big iron door where Heurmann stored more than 200 guns. He has pleaded not guilty to charges he murdered 3 young women whose bodies were found at nearby Gilgo Beach in 2010. Authorities have said Heurmann's wife was out of town when each of the victims was discovered and was in the dark about her husband's alleged crimes. Neighbors are still in disbelief. The suspected serial killer lived on their quiet street.
You know, the victims, their families, the suspect's family, living so close by, it's
creepy.
Police are promising to go through every single crevice of that house before they finish with it sometime later this week. David, they're looking for any scrap of evidence they can find to potentially tie Heurmann to other murder victims who were found on Gilgo Beach. David?
Aaron Gutersky on this again.
As well as plenty of other areas, like the extent of reach as far as where he could have been. And what the hell? Let me just do this. I say no. Okay. This guy, like, I tell you what. Oh, it blows me away, James. Like, I tell you what. Like, unreal. And I mean, James Burke, he was partying there. And they're allegedly partying there with all sorts of women who were working very close to the time when a lot of this stuff was going on. Like, in my personal opinion, that guy needs to be looked into, like, harder. Personal opinion. Like, that guy is so sus. Okay.
Democratic Party and why he's challenging Joe Biden.
No.
Tonight on Hannity.
Somehow some bad information got out. There's not a soundproof room. There is a vault where he secured numerous amount of guns.
Suffolk County Police giving an update a short time ago. Gilgo Beach killer's home. Commissioner confirms they found a vault where the suspect stored several guns, and police say they're investigating whether the victims were ever in the home. Let's bring in Nancy Grace. She's host of Crime Stories on Fox Nation and an expert on all things like this. Nancy, what does it tell you that this information got out, that there was a secret room, turns out to be a vault? What does it tell you the police are looking for in terms of how this room was used?
The police are referring to it as a misinterpretation, like cross wires. According to a colleague of Rex Heurmanns, he had a room specifically built in his basement that was cement reinforced, had cement poured in around it. Then even his wife was not allowed to enter.
You see, that's what I was wondering right there. Who had access to that room? Was it just him? Was it him and his... Was his family allowed? So, yeah, that's been a question that's been on my mind for a while. Yeah, adult parties. James, like, what? Unreal. I mean, that guy was hooking up with these women in his work vehicle. It's just, wow. Few stag nights, but never an adult party. That's just weird. It is. And I mean, there's a lot of professionals up and down that area. So I hope that they've looked harder. I know one time he was seeing one lady, And she has done some kind of presser out there at one point, but twice she took his vehicle to go get like some of that white stuff, didn't return, and that vehicle had his service revolver, had everything. And he was just like, yeah, okay, yeah, just bring it back. Hello, Shauna, friend. So, yeah, this just, there's still so many questions with that guy.
Whether it's called a vault or a soundproof room, in my mind, irrelevant. What is relevant is what, if any, evidence is found in that locked room.
Boom.
I understand that the back porch, the deck, as many are calling it, is being torn apart tile by tile. And very interesting, they have brought out ground-penetrating sonar. A few weeks ago, I was working with that myself on a cold case. And what it does is it kind of does an x-ray of sorts. It's what it looks like, or an ultrasound of the earth in his backyard to determine if it has been disturbed. In other words, anything buried there, not just a body, but souvenirs, body parts, bones. That's what they're looking for now. They're excavating the entire backyard, and they've got their sights on Vegas, South Carolina, and now Atlantic City, and an eerily similar case where bodies were found close together.
You know, Nancy, when we heard about this soundproof room, as it was reported, I mean, this really seemed to be entering Silence of the Lambs territory. But all of the searching that they're doing around the house there is still suggestive of that sort of macabre serial killer. Here's what the sheriff, Dr. Errol Toulon, said about the potential that some of these crimes, or maybe even just one of these crimes, was committed inside the home. Listen here.
We do know that when his family was away was when he committed these crimes, but the fact that any of these crimes were committed in his home, I do not have any evidence, nor have I spoken to any members on the task force that do.
So he says that there's nothing to suggest at this point that any...
So, in my personal opinion, I think what shows that some of this stuff could have happened in his house is the fact that his family's hair was actually on that tape. I'm not so sure that it would have happened with so many of those girls that her hair would be on there. So it's interesting. Anyone who has not subscribed, please do hit that bell and share.
Was killed inside the home. And we've asked the question, didn't the wife or family members notice anything? But if he committed all of these crimes, allegedly, when the family, or at least the wife, was out of town, maybe that would give us some indication that she really was in the dark about all of this. What do you think?
If they don't have any evidence that these crimes were committed in his home, then why are they tearing apart the back deck and excavating the backyard? All right? I mean, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to figure that out. They think criminal activity occurred in that home. I don't care what he just said in front of a camera. They're tearing the house apart down to the studs, looking for evidence. And here's another fact to consider. His wife's hair was found
yes,
on
that's my
3
thoughts.
of the victims. I'm not suggesting she took part in this because I don't believe she did. But her hair was transferred to one of the victims. From where? Either from the defendant himself or from the home. Her hair came from somewhere. Another thing, the degree of bondage, torture, rape, and murder, I don't think that happened in his avalanche, in the cab of his avalanche. I believe he had to take some of the victims to a room of some sort.
So what do you guys think about that? Was he doing this like outside? Or was he... I think he was doing it in his house. Now the only thing showing that they brought it to the house is the phone and their phone and the burner phone. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
be it a motel, his home, that vault downstairs, but all of that did not go down in the cab of a truck. I can tell you that much. That was a long, extended ordeal. And we now know that torture porn has been found in the home. The point of that is to derive satisfaction from hurting someone else. And I believe that took place in a room of some sort.
Well, speaking of motive and where you derive your satisfaction from, the BTK killer, Dennis Rader, wrote to Fox. I want to get your take on this. He says that he's got some similarities to the suspect here. He says, I was arrested at age 59, married, 2 kids, husband, dad, long time, a serial killer, stalker, used electronic devices, lives in a neighborhood undetected, DNA and electronics, his downfall, much like me. And the sheriff also weighed in on the suspect.
Here was found on 3.
I'm a serial killer, stalker, used electronic devices, lives in a neighborhood undetected.
So that's the thing. I've watched a lot of the interviews that his daughter has given, and she says the same thing. She said he is eerily similar.
DNA and electronics, his downfall, much like me. And the sheriff also weighed in on the suspect's personality. I want to play you what he said as well.
He seems like his personality is one that he wants to dominate. He's an extremely large man, not only in height, but also in weight. And I can see just from the few visits that I've had with him that he could be not only an imposing or intimidating figure to women.
So do you see the similarities there, and why do you think the BTK killer would want to inject his name into all this?
Well, number one, BTK, shut your pie hole. I've heard enough of you. You are a serial killer, and I don't care what you have to say, and I don't want to hear it. Sadly, what he said does compare to Rex Heurmann. Heurmann is intimidating. He's about 6'4", weighs about 260 to 280, and he has been described by eyewitnesses as looking like an ogre. That's very disturbing, but can I tell you something really interesting? When cops arrest him on the street outside of his Manhattan architecture building, he was meek and mild as a lamb. He said, why? That's all he said. Because finally he was up against someone that wasn't smaller or weaker than him. He likes to torture people. He likes to see people hurt. We saw a picture taken out of a painting taken out of his home of a woman with black eyes. His torture porn is vile. There's no other way to describe it. That's what he's into, and it fits hand in glove with these murders.
All right.
Yeah, this guy is absolutely disgusting. And yeah, that is all on the PCA, so it is to be known as fact.
Dennis Rader, take note. Nancy Grace has spoken. Shut your pie hole.
Yeah. So let's see here.
A Hannity Town Hall with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The presidential candidate weighs in on the Democratic Party and why he's challenging Joe Biden tonight on Hannity.
Somehow some bad information got out. There's not a soundproof room. There is a vault where he secured numerous amount of guns.
Suffolk County Police giving an update a short time ago about the ongoing search in the suspected Gilgo Beach killer's home. Commissioner confirms they found a vault where the suspect stored several guns, and police say they're investigating whether the victims were ever in the home. Let's bring in Nancy Grace. She's host of Crime Stories on Fox Nation and an expert on all things like this. Nancy, what does it tell you that this information got out, that there was a secret room, turns out to be a vault? What does it tell you that police are looking for in terms of how this room was used?
The police are referring to it as a misinterpretation, like cross wires. According to a colleague of Rex Heurmanns, he had a room specifically built in his basement that was cement reinforced, had cement poured in around it, that even his wife was not allowed to enter, whether it's called a vault or a...
See, that's the part that bothers me, is that even his family was not allowed to go in there. As soon as you've got like a spouse that's saying, you know, you should probably just not go in my room, it makes me really suspicious. But I'm quite worried about whether or not that family was also being abused. You know, you hear some of the kids that were raised by psychopathic people, and it was rough. It was really, really rough. So I don't know. We'll learn slowly about this family, but I think that they just did basically whatever he said. You know, I mean, he had, what did they say, $7 million in the bank, allegedly. And he was making his wife go shopping with food stamps. You know, everybody said they didn't even know that there was kids in that house. They just all sorts of things. That was a really, really dysfunctional house to be involved in. Did she block you one time? Well, BTK actually, not so much. He was not nice daddy. No, he could be nice, and then he had a really abusive side. I've chatted with his daughter a couple of times, and she says, like, she's still got PTSD from being raised by him. Like, he's a psychopath. He doesn't care how his family feels, didn't care what they thought about anything. They were under his thumb. And she said, like, if anybody thinks that it wasn't easy, she said, I was raised by a psychopath. Just think about it. So as far as like Carrie goes, not the best upbringing. And as far as the Green River Killer, I don't know. I've never really heard the family speak, so I can't speak on it. But Carrie, I follow her, and I mean, I don't know her, but we've like made comments. Yeah, just made comments on different things. And yeah. Oh, it was Roy DeMeo. Yeah. A lot of times those guys, though, they could be nice to their women. Yeah, absolutely, Shauna. Absolutely. Yeah, that's just weird. That's just weird. I mean, I've got one child, and when I was raising him, I mean, it was his house as much as mine. So, Mexi and I are going to be doing a live tonight. 5:30 Mountain Standard Time. I will set it up after this. I'll chit-chat with her for a few minutes, and I'll set up the next stream. But she's busy researching, and I've still, you know, you get a little bit done on, right now we're working on this. Like, I've been working on this, getting this out, what's been going on. I don't know, +6, right? +6? Maybe 7? So, yeah, every time a person concentrates on one aspect, something's happening over here, or you'll learn more about that over there. Well, you're 6 from Mexi, so maybe 7 from me. I don't know. As soon as if you've got it like pinned where you get notifications, when it pops up your local time. So I don't know what the hell they found in that backyard. It's curious as hell. I'll be watching, see if there's any more updates, because they seem to be just doing these things kind of randomly. And I have not figured out how they're deciding when to do these. So I'll go live as they go live. You're so welcome, James. So guys, thanks again for hanging out with me. That's what I've got. I was really, really curious about what was happening in that backyard. So we kind of have that cleared up. Sounds like they might be finished in that house. Oh, it is international. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. We'd love to have you. Always enjoy you, James. You're just awesome. You crack me up. You come out with some pretty great ideas. All y'all do. I enjoy every one of you. So, guys, I will see you this evening. And, yeah. Bye.